Hi guys, my name is Raj. I'm running a marketing company from Guwahati. My topic is what do you debrief a guy when the person's on criteria, right? And I'm going to be sharing a couple of pointers which has always worked for me in order to build a leader. And these are the things that I'm gonna ask you to write down as well. Excuse me. All right. So first things first is there are three times you actually need to take out, one of your new partners out for, either a cup of coffee or either, McDonald's small one-on-one meal, whatever you take it. There are three times you need to take your non-trainer out. The first when they're very, very new in the organization, right? When basically they are 1 to 3 days in the organization, just to build an RB with them, right? The next time is basically once they are the first day going independent, and I'm going to be mainly talking about once they're on criteria. That's one point. And the last point is once they are basically gotten promoted into leadership, so that you can explain a certain few topics, right? Now, what to talk to your non-trainer once they're on criteria. I'm going to go straight from day 1, day 2, day 3, and how I ended up doing it. The first thing is I always follow the sales playbook, right? If you guys don't know that, if you guys have that, that's a great toolkit where it actually has debriefing questions of day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and they're mainly learning based, right? So initially, these are a few questions that you can ask your non-trainer depending on the days that they're going independent. I always generally sit with them 20 minutes after the work is done, right? And that's 50% of the workload actually. So 50% of the work and the training happens in the prime time and in the field, and 50% of the important of is the feedback loop that we do post work, right? So the first point is these are a few questions that I generally ask is, hey buddy, how was your day? All right. Next thing is how many presentations did you give? Always check their presentation count, check how they're following their TMCs. The next point is always, ask them, did you meet any rude customers today? And be it on their answers, yes or no. If they say no, again, repeat the question. Tell me honestly, because I remember my first day, I met a lot of rude customers. The next thing is ask them if they faced any tough situations and how did they overcome it, right? For example, did you face any red flags today? Did you face any situations where you destroyed a form, lost something? Because generally, once they're very, very new, right? Even when I was very, very new, if I thought I made a mistake, I wanted to keep it to myself. I generally didn't want to share it with anybody. So debriefing is a lot about honest feedback, regardless of positive and regardless of negative. And this is one thing I learned from Vishnu when I was basically an upcoming crew leader. I remember when he came to Calcutta for a meeting, a rising star, basically when he was traveling with Sagar, that we end up having a negative day, but generally we don't sit and we talk to our non-trainers about the negativity, and we are very protective towards, I'm sure you had a positive day, don't focus on the negatives, focus on the positives. But understand this, even when we were new, we needed somebody to talk to about, and as an on-trainer, once they're on criteria, understand this, that's when they have a lot to share, that's when they have a lot, so you have to be a very good listener. So I generally, since Vishnu said it, I generally practice this where I sit and I talk negative and I listen to all the negatives that they have to share. It's better they put it inside me and use me as a punching bag or a dustbin, whatever you can call it, so that they go home with a positive attitude and an agenda for tomorrow, right? The next few questions is what objections did you face today? I'm going to check their TMCs, and basically I'm going to understand, okay, are they facing a lot of already donating, are they facing a lot of research negative, are they facing a lot of not interested? Each of those have a certain meaning. For example, if they're facing a lot of already donating negatives, that means their negative conversion cycle is not so good, So tomorrow morning, my agenda is ready. That tomorrow morning, buddy, we're going to be working on your already donating negative conversion. Next thing, if the person's getting a lot of research negative, come back later, research negative. That means my leader, my upcoming leader, is having trouble in building a genuine relationship with the customers. Now, is that bad? Is that good? Not really. They're just very new, right? The next thing is basically I'm going to understand, are they getting a lot of not interested? Now the thing is, if they're getting a lot of not interested, that means they're just pitching anybody and everybody, regardless if they're not understanding their buying signs. So tomorrow I'm going to be running a session on buying signs, right? So this is how I'm trying to read the TMCs, which is very, very important, right? The next thing is, after the entire point of debriefing an on-trainer for me has always been, okay, what's the agenda for tomorrow that I'm very, very clear about, right? So after debriefing, I want to figure out, okay, tomorrow I'll be focusing a lot more on enthusiasm. Am I going to be running a session on buying signs? Should I be running negative conversion cycle? So as a leader, as a promoting leader, it's a big importance that I learn this feedback, I get this feedback, and I am able to plan tomorrow's agenda, right? And I share that agenda with my non-trainer, right? The next few questions I can always ask is, okay, buddy, why is it important to to use a pitch card? Why can't we just pitch and we can't just close for any amount? Why do you think it's important to point at the pitch card? Or, okay, what are some, let's say if they filled up forms today and maybe they did, like, if they filled up 1-2 forms, I'll always, high five them. I'll give it a big noise, that they've achieved something, that filling up that first form is like a big event. For us as leaders, it's not a big thing, but for them, it's a huge thing. So always give them a lot of gratification because of that they went out and they did it by themselves, right? The next thing is basically, once you're going out there, once you're debriefing, ask them, questions. Okay, what are the buying signs that you noticed in a customer since you sold today, right? Ask them, okay, what are trends of the day? Right? These are few things that while debriefing, you actually end up talking about, right? The next thing that I want to tell you about debriefing is always try to do it in a moderately expensive. It doesn't have to be like the best of the best locations every day, because I understand affordability is also a thing. You don't want to cap your expenses, but a McDonald's is a great place, and places like McDonald's, like small coffee shops, where you don't have to spend that much. You can only spend 150 rupees, where you can just sit and you can just talk, and you can be a good listener to the person, right? That's one thing about debriefing. Also, always have, as a leader, always have a topic to run from your side after the listening is done. What are some topics there are to run? For an independent non-trainer on criteria, there are certain topics. For example, you can always explain criteria to them, which is a refresher, so that they know, okay, this is the roadmap, this is the ladder, and this is how to climb it. You can always, run sessions on business versus employee, employee mentality and a business mindset. You can run, sessions on, okay, how are you explaining your business to your family? Can you tell me that? You can run lots of other topics, like you can run grasp, you can run trend of the day, and you have to keep running these topics, right? Doing it once is never enough, trust me. And sometimes maybe you don't have to run it. You can just ask them to run it with you. Right? For example, I've asked lots of my leaders, why don't you run a topic of grasp and let me listen, and that revision itself actually strengthens and reinforces their attitude about this. The next thing, when an independent non-trainer goes out on criteria, regardless if they've done really, really well or if they've done moderately well, I'm going to be explaining to them something called trainership syndrome. What that means is, I'm going to be very honest to my non-trainer, be like, hey buddy, you're doing great right now, but you're doing great. Why do you think you're doing great? It's because right now you're chasing your next promotion. Okay, but after this, what is the next promotion? And if they're unclear about it, maybe if they're clear about it, I'm going to tell them there's something called a trainership syndrome, that once you go out and you achieve a certain level of success and you get promoted to the next level, we all get satisfied. Now, this is not a problem just with you. This is something that we've noticed over a bunch of years, that after a certain small achievement, we all generally take a backseat. Now, that is called trainership syndrome. So you will feel that you're struggling next week, but until unless you change it, until unless you keep being more process oriented, you're going to fall. Now, you've done great this week. You gotten yourself promoted. That's a great thing. Congratulations on that. But we can't get lazy. right? So what I generally tend to do is I tend to give them a weekly TMC, excuse me, or I try to give them, I try to give them a count of the number of presentations that need to be done in a week in order to avoid trainership syndrome. Now, this is something that we've all faced. I personally faced. It happens at each and every level that you get satisfied, but the basic way to fall back on is always your process. Right now, I'm going to be explaining them. I usually have a blank piece and a paper. I try to write things down. I try to take notes on what feedback they have. Right, and the last thing that I do after debriefing a non-trainer is I always try to give them an agenda for the next day. Okay, all right, buddy, we've done great today. I'm going to build their confidence up a lot, regardless of what kind of a day they've been. See, I've seen you improve. You're doing great right now. You're on the right track. Right, so tomorrow we're going to be focusing on negative conversion cycle, or tomorrow we're going to be focusing on this. So what actually happens is they know and they have something to look forward to, so that once they go home, they've already shared all their negativities with me, so they're feeling a little bit lighter. They have a clear picture on what the agenda is for tomorrow. I can also do a reinforcement call after leaving them, maybe at 8-10 o'clock or 8-9 o'clock. Just a little bit of RB where have you had your dinner? What's the plan for dinner? All right, tomorrow we're going to be in all formals. Make sure you're there. Or tomorrow, make sure you wear your best smart casuals. Make sure you wear those shoes that you have, the Nike ones. I'm going to give them a lot of feel-good factor right at the end, and then I'm going to leave them on the call saying that, all right, tomorrow morning I'll be there early. Right, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. What happens then? The person is looking forward to the next day. Right? They have an agenda for the next day. They know that, okay, this guy is being honest with me. He's telling me that next week I might fail, and this is what I need to do in order to not fail. Right? So always try to keep them very much process oriented, and talk to them about why are we doing well right now, or what do we need to do well right now, is by giving more number of presentations, is by being more enthusiastic, and boil it down and have a full mechanical agenda in the morning next day, and in the evening always have your mentality based agenda after you listen to them for approximately 10-15 minutes and how their day was, so that they are also on the same page. Sounds good? Thank you so much, guys. Hope you promote a lot of leaders. Looking forward to 2020. All right, bye.